your question?
Yes. If my house is fire safe, I've done all the right things, and my neighbor is not, will the fire then go to my neighbors and avoid my house?
Presumably. However, a burning neighbor's house could present a risk to you from ember cast, because the three ways that fire typically gets houses are either physical creeping up to the wall and catching it on fire, or radiant heat, as my son noticed in Berryessa last year, where the radiant heat from a fire 100 feet away can heat up things, or through ember cast, flying embers. So if your neighbor's house is on fire and you get embers and your house is not ember resistant, and I don't remember whether your crawl space.
Well, it definitely has a better chance. Absolutely a better chance.
Yeah.
There's a lot of conditions that you just don't know what's going to happen. Is it a catastrophic fire that's coming, towards your house? Like the Valley Fire came to my house, which I thought had total dispensable space, but burnt to the ground. But it was because it was a firestorm that hit the house. But you're definitely better protected. And if your neighbor is also part of that, then your community becomes more protected. So,
And also,
the more of us that have defensible space around our house, the better our community is going to look.
yeah, I think that's an excellent point. And a friend of mine, Carl Parker, who lost his home up the S curve by the church, used to say that your defensible space is only as good as that of your neighbors. So if everybody has defensible space around you, then your little neighborhood is far less likely to burn or to cast off embers. So it means that everybody has to be in this together.
If an ember lands on your wooden deck, but your house is made of hardy board, does the deck burn but the house does not?
It's hard to say, and I would probably leave that up to people in CAL FIRE who know how things work. But embers can burn out on decking. There may be ways to treat it, but you obviously want to reduce the number of embers. Pine cones, leaves, pine needles. I mean, Jerry, I wasn't there, but my friend Carl was up where you were during the Valley Fire, and he said entire flaming mats of pine needles were coming down.
I saw giant sheets, I think, of like plywood ember or ash fall down out of the sky.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. But so when it's a catastrophic fire, there's so many conditions that, your house is likely going to catch on fire. But in a normal fire, if we don't have a catastrophic fire, then yes, your house would be protected. So it just depends on the conditions.
Yeah, and that gets back to the time of day. The Valley Fire came at the worst possible time of day. I think it was, 1 or 2 o'clock by the time we got to your neighborhood?
Yes.
A hot, windy afternoon.
With unpredictable winds. It was bizarre downdrafts out of the sky with no clouds in it. It was odd.
Yeah.
It was a weird day.
And I have friends who were at Ziegler Springs whose houses burned later that evening, and I said they could have stopped it with a garden hose because it was creeping through the leaves, like here.
A lot of people said that in Cobb days later after the Valley Fire. There just weren't enough resources to protect each house.
Right.
When there's thousands of houses.
Right.
Yeah, but if your house is fire safe, maybe not creeping through leaves, you would most likely survive.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to answer your question, Carol, as I said, I don't know why our garage didn't burn.
Yeah.
It was surrounded by the house burning on one side and the tank burning on the other.
Well, it's like my house burned, but my neighbor's house didn't burn.
Yeah.
And we're not that far away from each other.
And that was at my place, your place. It happened all over.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mary?
I would say it's equally as important to keep the clutter away from the house. I mean, the tendency is to collect boxes, cardboard, plywood,
Firewood.
firewood. You want to keep that away from the house. I don't know how far away. What do you think, Dave? 50 feet?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to get all of our wood off the hill for the summer. The stove wood and the firewood. It's a big job to cart it away and then bring it back. In fact, the house that Vivian and I had, we did that every year. We'd bring firewood away in May and then bring it back in October, and the house still
Now I
burned
know what
anyway.
I'm doing for a couple of years.
That's the only thing that when the firemen came through to take a look at the property, I had a small pile of wood near the driveway, and he suggested just to cover it with a plastic tarp, and I had it moved. You know, I figured if it's fuel, then it needs to be away from the house.
Did they say anything about a fireproof tarp?
No, he did not. He
Is
just
it-
said a tarp.
I've heard of people putting flame-resistant tarps over wood. I mean, it's better to move it anyway. But I don't know. I haven't heard of. I don't know what flame-resistant tarps exist. Certainly not any ones that you can buy for cheap at Kelseyville Lumber.